to meet with leaders in the Jewish community, and most importantly, I've met with many of the families of victims and survivors of that horrific attack, in homes, in synagogues, at the Governor-General's, in community events. The people who were there at Bondi Beach on the 14th of December to celebrate the first night of Hanukkah in the embrace of family and faith should have been safe while they were doing that. Instead, they've had their lives and worlds shattered, people living a nightmare of grief. I've sat down with these Australians together with leaders in the Jewish community, and I've shed tears with them. I want to thank people for those honest and open-hearted conversations. I've said repeatedly that our government's priority is to promote unity and social cohesion, and this is what Australia needs: to heal, to learn, to come together in a spirit of national unity, and to go forward knowing that, just like people who gathered that night on Bondi Beach were committing to, that light will prevail over darkness. It's clear to me that a Royal Commission is essential to achieving this. And I've spoken with Premier Minns, and I would expect that a single Royal Commission will be had, but Premier Minns will have more to say on the New South Wales position. Today I announce that I will be recommending to the Governor-General in an Executive Council meeting that will be held tomorrow that a Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion be established. This was endorsed by a meeting of the Federal Cabinet today. I have asked that former High Court Justice, the Honourable Virginia Bell AC, to serve as the Commissioner. As agreed with Commissioner Bell, Dennis Richardson's work will become part of the Commission, and he will support its work with delivery of an interim report by the Commission in April. This Royal Commission will cover 4 key areas as set out in the terms of reference that I am releasing today. 1. Tackling anti-Semitism by investigating the nature and prevalence of anti-Semitism, examining its key drivers in Australia, including religious and ideologically motivated extremism and radicalisation. 2. Making any recommendations to assist law enforcement, border control, immigration and security agencies to tackle anti-Semitism, including through improvements to guidance and training within law enforcement, border control, immigration and security agencies to respond to anti-Semitic conduct. 3. Examine the circumstances surrounding the Bondi terrorist attack on the 14th of December 2025, and the work of Dennis Richardson will be central to this. And 4. Make any other recommendations arising out of the inquiry for strengthening social cohesion in Australia and countering the spread of ideological and religiously motivated extremism in Australia. Further to the terms of reference, we have resolved a number of practical issues. This won't be a drawn-out process. Our government will ask Commissioner Bell to report before the 14th of December 2026. Importantly, we'll be asking Commissioner Bell to ensure this inquiry does not prejudice any future criminal proceeding. This is vital, and we're confident that Commissioner Bell has the deep experience and expertise to conduct her inquiry in such a way that meaningfully examines the impact of anti-Semitism on the daily life of Jewish Australians and works to promote social cohesion, and to do this without providing a platform for others to push anti-Semitic hatred. This Royal Commission is the right format, the right duration and the right terms of reference to deliver the right outcome for our national unity and our national security. Of course, a Royal Commission is not the beginning or the end of what Australia must do to eradicate anti-Semitism or protect ourselves from terrorism or strengthen our social cohesion. That's an ongoing national effort for all of us as individuals, but also institutions, because an attack on Jewish Australians is an attack on all Australians. The attack on December 14 targeted Jewish Australians, but it also targeted the Australian way of life. One form of hatred, of course, can easily lead to another. And this is why our government will continue to support the work of our Special Envoy for combating anti-Semitism, Gillian Segal. And Gillian will play an important role in giving advice to the Royal Commission as it proceeds with its important work. We'll drive the immediate change required in education and institutions, including through David Gonski's Anti-Semitism Education Task Force, working with the Special Envoy. And we'll continue to work with states and territories to implement Australia's counter-terrorism and violent extremism strategy. We're taking new action against hate speech and hate preachers. We're delivering tougher gun laws. The Royal Commission is not instead of immediate practical action, it is as well as that. Not substituting for what we are doing, but strengthening it. Doing everything we can to keep all Australians safe and to safeguard our social cohesion. Modern Australia was born with the understanding of the importance of unity. That's how, 125 years ago, we came together as a nation. We chose to put aside the differences in the different, what are now our states, to come together, knowing that we're better and stronger when we work together. And that remains the proud heart of our national story, a story enriched by people of every background and tradition, united by their love of this great country. The great Australian instinct to pull together will always be stronger than those who seek division and seek to drive us apart. Here in Australia, light will always triumph over darkness. I'd ask the Special Envoy to make some comments, and then we'll hear from the Attorney-General and then the Minister for Home Affairs, and then we'll take some questions.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister, and good afternoon, everyone. I believe the government's decision that you've just heard to establish a Royal Commission into anti-Semitism is the right one and an important one. And I think it's important that the government has listened to all those who've advocated for such a commission. It does reflect the seriousness of the growth in anti-Semitism and its impact on our country and our democracy. And as you know, the Jewish community and the broader Australian community have been calling for a process of this sort of authority, and it's very important that those calls have been heard. And given the scale of anti-Semitism that we have, a full, wide-ranging and independent examination like a Royal Commission is absolutely warranted. As the Prime Minister said, it's about establishing the facts and the causes, identifying the failures and understanding the best way forward. And most importantly, what it needs to aim for is to understand what we must do as a country, as I've said before, to push anti-Semitism to the margins and make sure that events that we've experienced can never happen again. As we know, anti-Semitism escalated sharply after the terrorist attacks of 7 October 2023, but it didn't begin there. We saw a sustained pattern of threats, intimidation and violence immediately after, but there had been growth in anti-Semitism before then. Then we had Bondi, and Bondi did not occur in isolation. There were signs pointing to it, and we must examine those warning signs so that something like that does not happen again to Jewish Australians or to any Australians. The Commission, as the Prime Minister said, does not pause or replace the ongoing work to combat anti-Semitism and extremism, and my work will continue without interruption. The focus will remain on prevention, education, institutional accountability and community safety. And I think Australians expect truth about what happened at Bondi and the root causes. They expect sustained action to address the conditions that allowed such hatred to take root, and both must proceed together. So I will work very closely, where appropriate, with the Commissioner, and outcomes matter, and we will do our best to make sure that the process delivers them. Thank you.
Thank you. As the Prime Minister said, the Governor-General will issue letters patent establishing a Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion. And I acknowledge and thank Virginia Bell AC for her willingness to serve the Australian people by leading this important inquiry. Ms Bell is an eminent and highly capable former Justice of the High Court of Australia, and I have no doubt that she will examine the complex issues ahead with impartiality and precision. As the Prime Minister said, the Royal Commission will focus on 4 key areas of tackling anti-Semitism through investigating the nature and its prevalence in institutions and society, making recommendations to assist law enforcement and other agencies to respond to anti-Semitic conduct, examining the circumstances surrounding the anti-Semitic Bondi terrorist attack on the 14th of December last year, and capable of making any other recommendations arising out of the inquiry for strengthening social cohesion in Australia. Now, this will be an important opportunity for Australians, particularly Jewish Australians, to have their voices heard and to speak to their experiences. We all want a safer, more unified Australia. This Royal Commission, as the Prime Minister said, will be one part of that process, but a very important one. The Royal Commission will build on those immediate actions the government has taken and is taking now to crack down on those who spread hate, division and radicalisation in our community, and that includes our proposed legislation to further combat hate speech and its harmful consequences. Royal Commissions are complex undertakings, and of course it will take some time. But as you will see, this will commence as soon as practicable. The Commissioner and her team will keep the public updated on relevant timings.
Thank you, and thank you, Prime Minister, and thanks as well to the Special Envoy for Anti-Semitism, Gillian Siegel, for the work that we've been doing together as well. The important thing with today's announcement is the government has crafted this in a way that makes sure that we are clearly listening, in particular, to the pleas that have come from family members and relatives, but doing so in a way that does not slow down our response, and doing so in a way that also maximises the capacity for social cohesion. And I'll explain on each of those. In terms of not slowing us down, the Richardson Review will now become part of the Royal Commission, but will still report in April. The urgent information that we need for national security to make sure that our national security settings are fit for purpose will still come to us in the same timely way that the Prime Minister and I had said was so essential when we first announced that review from Dennis Richardson. The second thing is in terms of social cohesion. It is very important that the Royal Commission be crafted in a way that does not go on forever and that gives the Commissioner very specific powers to make sure it is conducted in a way that promotes social cohesion. Some of the terms of reference that have been floated around, in particular from the opposition in recent weeks, would have left something that gave us no answers for a very long time, would not have had the expertise of someone like a national security expert like Dennis Richardson, and also would have failed to have the priority of social cohesion in the structure that's been given here. What this means is the government has now crafted a way to be able to very specifically listen to the families, have a Royal Commission, act quickly on national security, and also respect the need in Australia for social cohesion.
Hang on, I might just move across to way out of the sun.